So, what if the key to your health wasn't in some pill bottle, but was actually in your own hands all along? Today, we're diving into a really powerful philosophy for women that's all about one central idea: creating your own good health.
So let me just ask you right off the bat, are you in control of your health? It sounds like a simple question, doesn't it? But according to the philosophy we're looking at, the answer to that question is really at the heart of your entire well-being.
And this is where things get serious. The source material argues, and I quote, "It is time for us to take our power back from the medical and pharmaceutical industries." I mean, that is a bold, bold statement, and it's pretty much the foundation for everything else we're going to talk about.
Okay, so if that's the mission, how do you actually do it? Well, the first step is what the source calls taking back your health. And this is really a call for self-empowerment. It's all about urging women to become their own best advocates by getting informed about their bodies and looking into alternative health methods.
This brings us to a major critique in the source material. The thinking here is that a lot of over-the-counter drugs are just masking symptoms. Sure, they might make you feel better for a little while, but they don't get to the root cause of the problem, and that means they can't offer any kind of true, lasting healing.
So, if we're going to take back our health, where's the best place to start? Well, the first pillar of this whole philosophy is all about nourishing your body. The author sees this as the absolute, non-negotiable foundation of good health. And the guiding principle here is actually beautifully simple. If it grows, eat it. If it does not grow, don't eat it. You can see the clear divide, right? Fruits, vegetables, nuts, and grains, they're in. But on the other side, you've got things that are basically manufactured in a factory. Twinkies, soda, processed cheese, and those are out.
And to really hammer this point home, the source lists the 5 biggest selling supermarket items at the time it was written. Just take a look at this list: Coca-Cola, Pepsi, Campbell's Soup, processed cheese, and beer. The argument is that our shopping carts are just full of products loaded with sugar and salt with very, very little real nutritional value. Now, even with foods that do grow, the source tells us to be aware. It recommends eating organic produce whenever you can, and it even points to a list of fruits and vegetables that tend to have the most pesticide residue. And you'll see some common favorites on here, like strawberries, bell peppers, and apples.
So the author kind of boils all this down to one powerful recommendation. If you can eliminate 4 key things: red meat, dairy, caffeine, and sugar, you can often alleviate a ton of common health issues for women. Everything from PMS to symptoms of menopause.
All right, so beyond what we're putting in our bodies, the next pillar is all about how we treat our bodies. This next section is called Loving Your Body in Motion, and it's focused on movement and self-care, basically making conscious choices for our physical well-being.
You know, this quote completely reframes the whole idea of exercise. Everything that you do for yourself is either an act of self-love or self-hate. Exercise is self-love. It's not about punishing your body or seeing it as some chore you have to get through. It's presented as a fundamental, beautiful act of caring for yourself.
And you know what? That act of self-love doesn't have to be complicated or intense. The source suggests these simple, almost joyful ways to get moving. Just put on some music and dance, run around the block, or hey, even just jump up and down 100 times. The point is to reconnect with movement in a way that actually feels good.
The source also points to another really powerful act of self-love: quitting smoking. And it's framed not just as a way to prevent disease, but also as a way to preserve your appearance by linking smoking directly to premature aging of the skin.
So, making these choices for our physical body is one piece of the puzzle, but that brings us to our third and final pillar, and this might be the most profound one of all: healing your mind. This whole section explores the deep, deep connection the author sees between our thoughts, our emotions, and our physical health. A really powerful example of this mind-body approach is menopause. This slide contrasts two radically different views. You've got the mainstream medical view, which, according to the source, often treats menopause like a disease that needs hormone therapy for life. And then you have the author's view, that it's just a normal, natural process that can be navigated with a healthy lifestyle.
The source is especially critical of hormone replacement therapies like Premarin, which is actually derived from pregnant mare's urine, and instead points to alternatives like natural progesterone made from wild yams. The idea is that it can offer similar benefits but without the same level of risk.
Now here is where that connection between the mind and the body gets incredibly specific. The source describes something it calls the people-pleaser pattern. A tendency for women to constantly take care of everyone else while finding it almost impossible to say no to demands. And it suggests there's a link between this emotional pattern and breast cancer.
So the crucial takeaway here is that setting boundaries is a form of self-nourishment. The author gives us this really powerful affirmation to hold on to. When I say no to you, I am saying yes to me. It's all about reframing no. It's not selfish, it's an essential act of self-love and preservation.
And this idea of internal well-being also applies to the author's view on cosmetic surgery. The argument here is that a surgical procedure just can't fix self-hatred. It's positioned as an industry that actually profits from a lack of self-worth, and that real true confidence has to be built from the inside out.
And speaking of where we put our focus, look at this statistic. It's pretty striking. The source points out that while about 4% of women die from breast cancer, 36%, that's 9 times as many, will die of heart disease. It's a wake-up call to shift our attention toward what the biggest health risks really are.
And staying true to that mind-body theme, the source connects heart problems not just to the usual things like diet and exercise, it also points to unresolved family issues and an inability to forgive as emotional factors that can literally break your heart by draining all the joy from your life.
So, after all of this, nourishing the body, moving with love, healing the mind, where does it all lead? Well, it leads to a completely different vision for getting older, one the author calls sailing into your older years. This final quote just captures the core message so perfectly. We women need to learn how to take care of our magnificent bodies so that we sail into our older years in perfect physical shape. I mean, what an empowering and optimistic way to look at the future.
Which leaves all of us with a final question to really think about. Based on everything we've just talked about, what is one act of self-love you can do for your health today?